Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Doncaster Congress. Round 2, I'm going to do as a quick breakdown video because it was a very quick game. But yeah, this one was round 3 and I was playing with the black pieces. So let's get into it. My opponent played knight f3, knight f6, and c4, the English opening. And I adopt a King's Indian defense sort of setup. I played d6 here. Obviously, I don't want to push him on, let him push on with e5. My opponent gets 3 pawns in the centre. Looks pretty scary, but it's fine. I castle, and he plays bishop to e2. And now I spent a while thinking here because I know I need to break. I need to go e5 or c5. You know, you can't. I've learnt the hard way in chess. You can't sit around too long. You know, playing moves like this, and you have to. When you've got the chance to do a pawn break, you need to do it because if not, you could end up being cramped in. So I decided that now's the time. I need to break in the centre, and I went with e5, which turns out to be the correct decision according to the Masters database. And if he were to push on here with d5, my next move would be a5. And this is a clever move. And the idea of this is that, you know, if white castles, I'm going knight to a6. And I want to plant my knight in this c5 square. And what that does is, what a5 does is, sorry, is once I've got knight c5 in, it stops him being able to kick me with b4, because obviously I can take that. He can prepare it with this and this, but, you know, now this knight is on a really good square um, in the center of the board. And this a5 move just, you know, stops him getting a pawn here to b4. But he didn't do that anyway. He took here, and I took back. And this looks like it hangs a pawn because it looks like he can go takes, takes, and takes, right? But that doesn't work because I just notice I've got this discovered attack. So I can just grab this pawn, and when he grabs my knight, I grab his knight. And when the dust settles, the material is just equal. And, you know, I've got a lead in development because I'm castled, you know, and this bishop's not necessarily lead in development, but I've equalised considering white, you know, moved first. He's going to have to spend a tempo castling. I'm going to get a piece out, and black's doing absolutely fine here. So yeah, after D takes, he did trade the queen off, and we got rook takes. You know, I'm happy enough with that. Yeah, the queen's come off, but I've now got this open file. And I spoke to a guy who also played this opponent, and he said he did the same thing. He traded the queens off quite early and went into an endgame. So my opponent obviously likes playing endgames, probably fancies himself as a bit of an endgame specialist, but you know, that's okay with me. Bishop g5, and I went back to e8 because now he is threatening to take this pawn. Because, you know, notice how I don't have the same idea, because if he takes this pawn, I don't have the same idea because that would just hang my rook. So I've got to shuffle the rook back over, defend this pawn. He then jumps his knight in and he's threatening this fork. So I've got to do something about that. I've got no choice. I've got to chop. He gets this strong pawn here. And now I really wanted to play c6, but I was worried about him going d6. And then I thought, oh, if he pushes past with d6 and then he gets a rook behind it and protects it, that pass pawn is going to be really scary. But actually, c6 was the top master move. C6 was played by 98% of masters in this position, so it was the obvious move. Just to mention that before this move, at this moment here, after 11 moves, we've both played the top master move every single move. So some really high level chess so far. And I didn't really know the opening well. I was literally just guessing. I'd burnt a lot of time up doing it, but I'd obviously played it correctly. But like I say, because I was afraid of him pushing on, I went f6, kicked his bishop, rerouted my bishop here, and then the plan was to go c6. Um, there was a couple of masters played this way, so it's not bad. My opponent castled, and then I get c6 in. White plays bishop c4, so you know, he's now threatening to take this with a discovered, and if I take, he's going to get this strong bishop here. So I just lift my king out the way of that bishop's view, and white then played a4. Here I wanted to play knight to d7. I was thinking, okay, it'd be nice to go knight d7, knight b6, where I'm going to be putting pressure here and here. But I just figured that white would push on with a5, restricting me. But this isn't actually a problem, because then I can just go knight to c5, attacking this. And, you know, if he just defends the pawn, then I take, let's assume he takes back with a bishop. I just develop my bishop. This pawn's protected from the knight, so I don't need to worry. Let's assume he trades. I want to try to take with the rook because I'm happy where this knight is. You know, it's putting pressure here. It's defending this. It's covering these squares as well. And, you know, I've solved all my opening problems. You know, my rook's now coming in the game, and it's not winning or anything, but it's just equal, right? But I played a5 just because, like I say, I wanted to bring my knight out this way or this way, and I didn't want him taking space there. So white played bishop to e3, and I played knight to e6. You know, if white chops here, I'm happy to retain the bishop pair. I'm going to take back with a rook, not to damage my pawn structure. And he finally takes because when I take back, I am left with these weak pawns. But I wasn't worried about that because, you know, I've been quite cramped in so far in the game, and I figured that yes, you know, I get these two weak pawns here, but I've got some open files for my rooks, and you know, I've got the bishop pair, so I was happy enough with that. I'm going to get some activity. I'm going to get an open file at this backward pawn here, and so I was happy enough. I wasn't fussed about the isolated pawns. My opponent retreats his bishop, and I get rook b8 in with tempo, attacking this. And then my opponent played rook fb1, which I thought looked really passive, to be honest. I jumped in with knight to c5. You know, I'm putting pressure on here, and it pretty much forces him into trading. I mean, he could drop the knight back, I suppose, to defend this, but yeah, looks pretty passive. I don't know. Maybe I can jump into here, and you know, if he trades, I'm probably going to get my rook to a good square. So I figured white probably had to trade, which he did. That then gets my bishop back in the game, and he plays rook to c1, and he is threatening this pawn, but I'm also threatening this, so I wasn't worried. I just dropped the bishop back, and once he takes, I take. And my opponent then played rook to c7 check, and I just dropped back to h8 just to protect this pawn and get my king out the way. Now, I should have played rook e7 here. I looked at that, but I just thought, you know, once I go here, he takes this, I take this, and then he's probably going to get his rook, you know, here or here. And yeah, I thought this rook looks maybe a bit out the game here, but it's actually attacking this pawn, which I didn't seem to see. I just sort of looked at, you know, I just sort of looked at this, and then, oh yeah, but the problem is that's gonna let him get his rook in the game. I thought maybe he would take control of this file, and I was worried too much about his activity rather than just calculating a bit deeper and going, well, actually, you know, he can't really go here because it's going to hang this pawn, and I'm then going to be threatening this pawn. So, you know, it's a common problem, like I've mentioned before. I'm just not calculating deep enough. It's a bit lazy, and yeah, you know, it's a problem for me in life, you know, not being able to go deep enough. I have a lot of girls say it to me, you know, you need to go deeper, but I just physically can't. And so it's a problem that plagues me on and off the chessboard. So anyway, I played king to h8. And my opponent played bishop to b5, just putting his bishop on this good square here, blocking my rook off from this file. I just moved out the way of him attacking me. My opponent plays h3. I'm not quite sure what the idea is. I suppose he just wanted to restrict where my bishop can go. So I just played bishop to e6. My opponent doubles his rooks on the c file. I now play bishop to g7, which looks a bit passive. I could have probably gone to h6, but I was worried about maybe him coming here and, you know, attacking this pawn. So I just wanted to give it a bit of extra protection. My opponent attacks my bishop this way. I drop it back to g8. These bishops look a bit passive here, but, you know, they're fine. This is just an equal position. Rook to a7, attacking this pawn, and I played bishop to h6. And I'm threatening something a little bit sneaky here. If he was to double his rooks on the 7th rank, I can throw this check in. And if he's got to retreat his bishop, and his bishop has to sit here where it's being pinned by my rook. If he doesn't, if he plays this, then that's an absolute catastrophic blunder, as that's going to run into this, and mate. So, yeah, he actually bought his rook to defend with f1, which, again, is a bit passive. I just get my rook back in the game. It's obviously not very active on this b file anymore, so I'm now controlling these two files. It does give up this pawn, but I figured, you know, it's not really a problem. I do have to worry about this pass pawn, but so, you know, white has definitely got a bit of an advantage here, but I still knew I could easily draw this game if I played correctly. I actually traded his bishop off because I figured it'd be easier to attack this pass pawn if I did, which he traded off. He drops his rook, and I grab a pawn back. He also grabs a pawn. I now grab the pass pawn, so now I know for sure I'm going to be able to defend this. He's still a pawn up, but you know it's a 3-on-2. I've got a bishop versus a knight, so the bishop's slightly better. I knew this was a draw, and I went to trade the rook off, and he offered me a draw in this position, and I accepted. So yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a quiet game, but yeah, we both played decent. I don't neither of us ripped any trees up, but neither of us played bad either. So yeah, just a quiet game, when it happens. And yeah, I took the draw, and I was on one win, one loss, and one draw after 3 games, heading into round 4. So I'll get round 4 is a good game, an exciting game. So I'll get that uploaded next. Thanks for watching.